Hey folks, we are back with a kind of show and tell special. I've got young Jason with us,
Kind,
exclusively.
kind of young,
Kind of
kind of,
young,
kind of
young
old.
looking, young
Yeah,
looking Jason.
that's it.
And we are going to talk about the show videos. I said I'd do this a little while ago about the Weekender video, and just because the summer was insane, didn't get the chance. And the Gathering video has been out for a little while, but I thought, you know what, if we don't do it now, we're not going to do it for another year. So I grabbed Jason, and we are going to have a little bit of a chat about just his approach and what he does and how he deals with me and all of that kind of thing for the show videos. Hopefully informative for people that come to the shows and just generally interesting. But if you're a videographer type person or have aspirations to be a videographer, it will hopefully be extra interesting for you. Let's start with actually with that, like, where do you start? Like, because by default you're going to be doing our videos because that's what we get, and we give you the date for the show and we tell you to get your Avengers together, and how many people we might need. So, like, where do you start? Like, you get that probably a messenger message from me to say, right, this is the date, we're off.
Yeah.
Get the team together. What do you then do?
So after initial panic and like, oh my God, can I actually make it for that day? And can those people do it? I guess we have a discussion about, because we've already done it for like, I guess it's like a few years now. A good thing that helps me, I guess, as an editor and I guess shooting at the same time is like the music and the pace. So you, David, have an eclectic range of musical tastes, which is great because it really differentiates Retroise, I think, from the other brands and stuff. Whereas you might have not seen music, but I guess the music that you choose, I feel kind of sets the vibe. It does set the vibe, but kind of like, the rhythm to the event. And it's with the Gathering, it's I guess, how would you describe it? It's not anarchy, but it's kind of it's kind of out there, and it's like, hang loose, but kind of
I go for something music wise. Actually, is part of how I like to differentiate the events, because obviously we have two events and we don't want them to just be the same event.
Yeah,
we want them to have a slightly different atmosphere, and they have obviously different venues and all that kind of thing. But the music is part of almost setting that stage of 100%. What to expect. And the Gathering is definitely more grassroots and rawer, and raw. just a little bit fuzzier. So we always end up with a bit of sort of desert rock or stoner rock type stuff for that, which is good, because I like it. And that's kind of become its theme music, as it were. And often I'll be listening to stuff and I'll hear something and I'll be like, that would be a good video track. One of the problems we have is because we want a 6 or 7 minute long track generally. Like there's some really good stuff out there that's like 3 or 4 minutes long, and then you need to find like another bit to go in it, and it actually becomes a little bit more complicated. Whereas if you have a nice piece of music that's got multiple parts, I can already tee you up to be like, oh well, like you could put the awards in this quiet section, and where it all crescendos up, like we can have some start lines. And so in my head, when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about the sort of editing you're going to be doing before I send you the track.
Yeah, because because you've got so many, as you were saying, because there's so many parts and sections, it's nice to have a track that kind of, maybe starts off slow, then it ramps up, then it slows down again, ramps up, then you've got a nice little bridge, slow down, ramp up. And then with that, I can start slotting in different parts of the show.
So what is it that you do on the day?
On the day?
Yeah, what are you doing over the weekend, really, I guess?
I guess over the weekend, I'm trying to make sure that the guys know what they're doing or what the areas that they're looking to cover, because it's such, for example, if we're talking about the Gathering at the moment.
Let's stay on the Gathering.
The Gathering, I have to make sure that the guys have everything that they need and they are aware, and they have, you know, like a schedule of events of what's happening when. So as soon as we get there, probably about, I try and get there 7, 8, and then the guys will probably rock up about just before 9 o'clock, before the hill, you know, before the hill's locked off. So for example, we'll send one guy, Richie, he'll go up the hill. So he's in the black accord, which is normally found right at the beginning of the S's. And he'll kind of pretty much, he'll man that station for, I guess, most of the day. Then you've got Mr. Matthew Deere, who's on the start line. So he's been doing it for a while now as well. And his job, I guess, is to man that start line, make sure he's getting all the atmosphere there, as well as kind of the paddock area, because I think when there's a bit of downtime, you can come out and then kind of shoot other things. And then you've got Big Rich, who's like kind of a floater in the sense that, because we started introducing GoPros and trying to get kind of more of the in-car stuff, that takes a bit of time, because you kind of have to, if you haven't already spoken to the drivers, you kind of have to explain firstly who you are, what you're doing, and then you kind of have to rig a car up.
But so was there any shots in there you were particularly proud of, like out of a whole lot of, or any particular edits?
I think there's a bit where the old man in his three-wheeler, he stubs his cigarette out. And I think I spotted him from the other side, and he was smoking, he was talking to someone. I was like, okay, he looks kind of cool, because he's just sitting there with his cigarette and he's relaxed. And I was like, let me just get another shot of him on the other side. So quickly whizzed around, and then he's talking to the guy. So I thought, okay, I can get a shot of talking to the guy, sitting in the car, and then he stubs out his cigarette, which I then luckily had like a zoom lens. And then so I kind of used that as a transition into like the burnouts. So it was a little split-second thing, but when looking through the footage, I was like, so cigarette equals smoke. So maybe that connection can be that. So I guess that was my mental, like in the edit, that was like that mental connection.
That's nice. How do you start the edit? Like that's,
I
mean, you've got, well, on this case, you've got 2 days worth of footage, but you've got like a whole solid day's worth of footage from 4 different cameras. So like, what do you do with all of that?
So I know that the guys will be looking at specific areas. I do ask them to sometimes, you know, get setup shots. So people getting ready. So basically, as if you were arriving at the show, what would you be doing, or what would happen? So in my mind, I kind of go through it as a customer, or as, you know, a person attending the show. So what would be their view, and what would be their journey through the show? So that's why I kind of start at the beginning. So if I know that there's a queue, I think I stayed in the queue at the beginning for maybe about like 20 minutes or something. So I knew that the beginning will be people rocking up and rolling up. So that is the first kind of section, setting it up. And yeah, I think that's how I start, because I've got like a little structure that I've got, and that's always the main thing. So people coming in, people parking, people setting up, people saying hello, people being directed. And that's kind of everything that would normally happen on the day. So I guess that's how I kind of take it, or that's kind of my forethought in terms of what needs to be taken. And then that will probably be for about 30 seconds of the video. But I'll probably end up, you know, about an hour or 2 or something getting footage, which I feel, okay, I can stop now, kind of thing. So that's how I kind of start. But in the editing process, it's literally going through all of the videos and just literally scrubbing through them, just seeing if there's any bits of gold.
Do you then just like pull them out into like, oh, this is a useful one, this is a useful one, or do you just like try and remember which ones you're going to use?
Because if I had more time, I think this video, I think there's more time than usual, but usually I try and whip the videos out in about a week, but because I've got a full-time job now, I kind of can't do that. But I think normally I would do that, but sometimes when there's a bit of gold, I'll be like, just put that in. And then if I come across another, then I stick that, at the beginning of the sequence, for example. And if I feel like I've come across something else later on, flicking through all the footage, and I'll drop that in as well. So there is, the whole video will change quite a lot through the course of like the editing process, because there'll be like, sometimes there's a shot that doesn't work or doesn't connect. But that's another thing. So say, for example, we're looking at opening shots and what shots to use. In my head, I'm trying to make sure that the first shot is linked to the next shot, linked to the next shot. So even if it's a bit of movement coming from left to right, I'll try and make sure that there's a shot which will maybe, in a sense, continue that. So your mind is kind of, your mind has to make these little connections. And if shots are too far apart from each other in terms of content or movement or color or anything, then your mind doesn't make those connections. So in the beginning, it's kind of like a lot of movement. So I just have to make sure that they all kind of work together, and bring people in, if that makes sense, because that's the bit where you have to kind of catch people and make sure they're hooked in. So it's just trying to line shots up that kind of feel the same, but kind of show something different as well.
Cool.
Because there's a lot of time. Yeah,
and one of the things that you always impress upon me when I'm doing edits from events we've been to together and we both shot at, there's kind of like a narrative flow. So you have like a car in the background, and then that'll be your next shot is that car. That's quite an interesting sort of change in the way that I've learnt from you, in that there is, you can set those shots up to begin with anyway when you're shooting, but then when you're editing, you kind of have to sort of follow that through, or as you've also done, where you followed a car through an event, so it'll be in one of the opening shots, and then it'll be in the middle bit, and then it'll be in the end bit. There'll be a car that's sort of there all the way through.
It's a bit like a stand-up comedy or something, where you've kind of got these little jokes that kind of have to reappear, and it kind of keeps the audience engaged. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that. So it just gives, and like when watching films and stuff, there's like a lot of narratives going on at the same time, lots of different stories, so people attach to different things, and it just means that you kind of try and try and attract more people and kind of keep them more, I don't know, just in the zone, because some people might not like that car, so maybe they'll forget about it, but they might like something else. So it's just trying to make sure that there's a few little stories in there, or scenes that match up to each other to carry on. Because I guess for me, sometimes when you see a car show video and there's lots of different shot, you might forget what happened in the last 10 seconds, if that makes sense, because it's a bit of like a TikTok where you're kind of like boom, 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 image, wow, but I can't remember the last 3 cars or something.
I think one of the things that I find difficult with some show videos is like they're shot and like, oh, look at these cool wheels. They're really cool wheels. And then there's like another shot of another car, another shot of another car. It's like, well, what were they on? What's that attached to? And what's that part next to? Like, how does it look in context? And and it's because they're like trying to do the quick edit, or the only thing they liked about the car was the wheels. And I find that we've nowadays managed to avoid that. I'm sure I've done edits like that in the past, where and also because I've just missed the shot. Like I've gone in, I've got the wheel shot, and then I've not bothered to get the context shot. Whereas I think that we managed nowadays, when you watch through the video, I don't think there's many shots in there that don't have context. Which is
and I think it's kind of like, for a person that's built their car and has put those wheels on, and to not show their car, it's like you're only showing half the story, because there's, you kind of, in this sense, this video is kind of like a tribute to all the people that, they bring their cars there and they make that effort. So you kind of have to show, the whole, as much of the whole story per car, per person as possible. Because we're celebrating our differences and all of that. So why not make sure they get those, even if it's a 1 second of fame? Give them that.
It must be like one day I'll have a car in a video. Like it must be nice, like to I'm aware that having a shot in one of our videos is probably a nice thing for people. So you got to do the car justice.
Justice, yeah, definitely. And again, it's like making sure you get a nice angle of it or a shot of it that shows its best side as much as possible.
Yeah, fair play. How do you know when you are done? Like when
David says so. When David says so.
Like when do you go? Okay, I can send the first cut to David for him to tell me to remove shots and replace things and all that kind of stuff.
I think I guess it's when I've stuck the credits on at the end, and I feel like I can watch it through, because I would have watched the video through so many times. But I know that I kind of, because I've been working with you for so long, and you know that I guess when the first edit's there, I'll flick it out to you, and I know that there'll be edits, and I think that that's what, if you're working for someone, you have to know that you're doing work for someone. It's not necessarily, it is for you as well, but you're trying to make sure that you've captured what the client wants to put across there. So I know from doing work for other people and work for other companies that not to be super attached to it at the same time, because sometimes if you get too attached and you do one edit and then that's it, it's like, yeah, there could be, things that you can do differently, but that's what's nice with having somebody that knows what they want and what they like. Say, for example, like yourself, David. So for example, if some shots might not work, or you wanted to show something different, which we make edits and stuff. But I think once I've got it kind of in a rough area, I mean, I normally know before the end credits, but I kind of don't want to show you. I kind of want to make sure that you get some whole picture. But I know that sometimes I've teased you and said, do you want to see what I've done now? Because I'm kind of excited.
But that's quite nice. Is it also like occasionally you'll send me like the first minute or first couple of minutes of the video, and it's quite nice from my point of view to see it happening, see it coming together. But also I can steer a little bit already if I need to. It's like, there's too many burnout shots, because we've got to discourage that a little bit. Otherwise we'll get thrown out of the venue.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that was a big change in this one. Well, not really, but we just couldn't show as much. I know that people love the burnouts, but as you say, we can't show as much.
No, but there we are. But yeah, so that's it's sort of not a collaborative process is too much of a thing, but the fact that I can turn around and say, can we make sure there's a shot of this car in there, and make sure like we don't necessarily have that car in there for whatever reasons. That's sort of all switch aboutable. That's cool.
Definitely.
So what are you taking forward from this one to next year? Because every time we do a video, we sort of improve and change things. So next time, what's the plan for next
I think I need to up my cardio and then loosen up a bit more, because it is the show field is massive, but I think I don't know how many steps. I was supposed to look it up, but it's a lot of steps. I think maybe it'd be nice to have like another person on the field. I'd like to maybe one day be able to float around and like enjoy it, but at the same time know that each area is being covered. So maybe I'll probably, maybe get another person in. And I always try and make sure that I'm organized in the sense that I know what we're shooting. I mean, we always have the track, which is always good, because then I'll feed it out to the guys and at least they kind of know the pace and stuff. So I guess it's try and make it again as easy as possible. So maybe get a couple more people, hopefully, or another person.
The thing with being at Shilsley Walsh for so long is the venue very well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be terribly traumatic if we change venues.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
But I mean, and I guess being there, and I guess being there for so long, it's always daunting trying to shoot another video, because after the first one, you're like, okay, the first one's out the way. Second video, okay, I'm a bit more clued up now. Third one, okay, we definitely know what's going to happen. And then fourth, fifth, it's like, how do we do this different? How do you do it differently? But I think there's always points that you can always focus on.
There's always an angle, I guess.
There's always an angle, and I guess it's the cars and the people that make it different. So yeah, it's what's going on. So it's just, yeah, that's where you kind of have to sit back and let it happen and just get what you can. It's a bit like a wedding, I used to do wedding videos, and it's like it's a one-time hit. You can't go, actually, can we get that kiss again? You can't do that. So you kind of have to make sure that you kind of have to go with it and get what you can, kind of thing, and just preempt. So okay, that's the kiss is going to happen, or they're coming around the corner.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we get an angle. They're going to drift. Let's get a close up on that or something. So there's things that you can do to prepare yourself. The thing. So
cool. Well, we'll see what the next year brings.
Definitely.
Plenty of work. So yes, we love working with Jason. He is.
I like working with retro rides.
Good. So, what was I going to say? If you've got any tips for other videography type people that are getting into all this stuff, because you've helped me in the past. So, what would your one tip be if you were to have one tip
for people doing events?
Yeah, I'd say like there's a lot of people out there doing event videos.
Yeah.
And at some point on one of the other show and tells, I'm going to have a small rant about it. But as a professional video person, what would your tip for people doing events be?
I guess have an angle, in a sense. Have one beeline, so to speak, that that you're going to hit. So if it's a story, then make sure you've got some kind of story, in the sense that story. I think maybe have a story. That's it. Yeah. Have a beginning, middle, and end, and then you can always play with that narrative. So make people...
Actually, well, one of the things that you just said there is one of the other things that I never used to do when doing videos, and it's been a little while since I've done any filming for various reasons, but the inclusion of B-roll.
Oh,
I see so many car show videos where it's just car, just the whole thing, just like non-stop. There's no video of the setting or of the people or the atmosphere. It's just car. And I think actually the B-roll, like the shots you just did of flags, all that kind of stuff, I think that really helps. It gives a little bit of break in pace within a video.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
It gives you an excuse to move from one area to another without it just being like some mad bang cut between two scenes. And also there's a certain level of nice extra creativity in there. I really liked in the Weekender video, there's a shot where you were going around a flag and then you were going around the start finish straight booth and just doing that and a tree and stuff. And I really liked those shots just in isolation, regardless of the fact they're at our show. They're just like really interesting, really interesting shots tied together.
They didn't take too long. But I think when I did that shot, I kind of watched loads of different videographers, so not on YouTube, so it's not necessarily just car stuff. So with shots like that, I think I got influenced by a guy who does more kind of travel type videos. So if that there's a shot that I felt like there's a shot that shot I could work into a few different scenarios. So flag, clock, tree kind of thing. So I thought, okay, at least there's a segment there that I can kind of use. So that's why that one's quite a nice one.
But yeah, it's a nice bit of B-roll, but like there's no cars in it, but it sets a nice atmosphere within the context of the video. And I think that looking at other people's car, or at least sort of not amateur, but like beginner sort of car video thing, that often that is missing. And I know I missed that. I never used to have any of that stuff because it was just car. And I think that was an interesting takeaway from working with you on stuff, is that there's the power of the B-roll. Really to anchor your videos together is more important than I realized.
And I guess it's, again, taking influence from things that we do watch, like films and series and stuff, because most of the time is when a film opens, you need to tell the viewer where it is and then give them context. Is it in space? Is it in a field? Is it in a house? And then bring the viewer in. So like maybe it's a character, or in our case, maybe it's a car or something like that. So you kind of have to, it's like, it's like reading a book. You need to set these things up so that people know where it is that you are, and then everything else can kind of follow.
Yeah.
So, or else then it's kind of like a little photography flip book where you can it's like car after car after car, which is great. And we people watch those kind of things, but I guess with our like the Retro Rides video, you kind of want to tell a little story kind of thing. So
yeah, we're trying to go a little bit deeper. Hopefully, people enjoy them.
Yeah,
we put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, a few tireless nights kind of thing, but hopefully it's worth it, because at the end of the day, that is maybe one when we're long and gone, people can come back and go, you know what, look what happened there. That was amazing.
That looked like fun. Yeah, you can't do that now.
With all our electric cars.
Yeah, not allowed to drive anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
We've all gone back to horses. So
that's it. 1 horsepower.
Well, thank you for that, Jason. I'm hoping anybody watching this that is into videos enjoyed that, got a little bit out of it. And if you're watching it and you're not into videos, then I hope you also got something out of it. I don't know what, but hopefully something. A little insight, maybe. We will be back with more show and tell stuff. We are currently, talking of video editing, setting the actual format. So we got an idea now of how the format's going to work in the future, and we're putting a little bit of polish around that before we record the next one. So should be this week, and we will be back probably next week in awesome. Your terms. So that's lovely. Thank you very much. Oh, and like and subscribe.